What's up, y'all? Y'all know who it is, man. It's your boy King and Lucky Money, man, and we back with another video. But look at here, man. Check this out. This story right here is a good one. This is a good one right here, man. This story is based off infidelity, affair, scandal. This story, this young lady is telling the story about how her mom and her husband were having an affair with one another, and she's telling the story. All right, so look, I want y'all to check it in, leave a comment about this. All right, and we're gonna watch this live together. You feel me? Without further ado, hey, let's get into the video. Yep.
This is a really long story, so hopefully I can get all of this in one video, but if it starts to get too much, I might have to break it up into at least a couple videos. Okay, so first I should probably talk about some of the red flags that I saw before I actually definitively found out that the affair was happening. So one thing that kind of shifted and changed in their behavior was that when they would greet each other hello or say goodbye, instead of it being like a side, like pat, 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 like hello, goodbye.
Body language, you start peeping.
Her arms around his neck, and he would like swing her around in a circle to like
really
say hello.
Who swings their mother-in-law in a circle?
Rubs in front of me. On Valentine's Day, 2 days before I found out about the affair, he brought home flowers for me and for my mom. But the biggest red flag is that on multiple occasions, with multiple witnesses, my mother and ex-husband would say,
notice you said ex.
You know, if Catherine and her dad ever were to tragically pass away simultaneously, we would totally end up together.
Wow.
So Catherine, how did you not cut ties with your mother and your husband right then and there the first time it was said? Because I'm an idiot. Because I was brainwashed my entire fucking childhood by that woman. I don't know. I'm dumb. I know. Hindsight, dude, 2020. So that's just like a handful of red flags. So why didn't I ever say anything? Why didn't I ever bring it up to my mom or my husband? Because I didn't want to believe it was happening. I didn't want to accept
that's typical.
That
people don't understand it. That is typical.
In this whole world
she didn't want to believe it
like that. So I would make up any excuse I could for their behavior. I didn't want to believe it. But I finally knew I wasn't crazy when my grandmother, my mom's mother, came to me and expressed that she had a feeling something was going on between my mom and my husband.
So listen, this story is getting juicy already. All the red flags were already there, but you heard what she said. She did not want to believe what she was seeing. She did not want to believe it. So all the signs were there: holidays, Valentine's. He's swinging his mother around in a circle when he gives her a hug. That's insane right there. So let's keep the video going.
Okay, here is part 2 of how I ultimately caught my husband having an affair with my mother. Also, this comment was left by my fully biological sister that my parents conceived when they were in high school and gave up for adoption. So if you want more about the story of her and my relationship with her, let me know. So my grandmother came to me and she had expressed that she had witnessed some odd behavior between my mother and my husband. Kind of similar stuff to how I described in the last video that I had witnessed. And when she told me this, I mean, part of me was absolutely crushed. But the other part of me felt so validated to know that I wasn't crazy and that I wasn't the only one seeing these things. So I asked her, what do I do? Do I confront them? Do I ask them? Because in my head, I still didn't want to believe that something was happening. And sure, everything that was happening was insanely inappropriate, but it doesn't outright 100% prove that an affair is happening. I know, obviously it wasn't.
Is she telling the truth?
But I didn't have proof. And for me, it's like, I did not want to make those accusations if I didn't have cold, hard evidence. So my grandma,
I think everybody would agree with that part.
She encouraged me that the truth always comes to light. And she encouraged me to just sit and wait.
Sit and wait.
And I wasn't sure if I was going to follow that advice. But turns out I didn't have to, because that night I got proof. Okay, so it's
Uh-oh.
February of 2022, and a couple months prior, my husband had been fired from his job. And so, in order to pay the mortgage, he was door dashing. And anytime that he would DoorDash, he would always let me know what time frame he planned on doing that for. And if he ever planned on running later than he first initially told me, he'd let me know, hey, I'm going to work later than I thought. This was never an expectation that I asked for. It was just something that he created. So I always knew when he was working and when to expect him home so I could have dinner ready. So that night he had told me that he'd be home around 9, and when 9:30 came around and I hadn't heard from him, I reached out to him. Specifically, I FaceTimed him. So he
FaceTime.
answered, and I asked him what time he thought he would be home and if I needed to have dinner ready for him or if I could just go to bed. He had expressed that he had lost track of time and didn't realize how late it had gotten and that he would be heading home soon. He said, don't worry about dinner, I'll just hit a drive-thru on the way home. Now, as he's talking, I'm paying attention to the background. He's in his car, but he's parked. And I notice out his driver's side window the buildings behind him. And I realize
What made
that
me
I
notice is
recognize them.
everything, fellas.
But I recognize
They
them
watch
as
everything.
being in the city we live in, not the city that he says he was in. So I go,
Wow.
hey, I thought you said you were in this city. And he's like, oh, yeah, I am. So I should be home in about 20 minutes. And I go, no, you're not. I can see that building behind you, and you're in this city that we live in.
Wow.
And his face goes white. And so we go back and forth arguing about where he is or where he isn't. And finally, he admits that he's exactly where I said he was. And I go, why are you lying? This is so weird. Like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, I can't make out what was said, but I could hear a woman's voice. And he turns over to his passenger seat as if listening to that voice.
Wow.
And I go, who are you with? And he says, I'm not with anyone. And I say, I just heard someone talk. Who are you with? And he hung up on me. I'm so sorry.
Hey, now, if you ain't entertained by now, I don't know what's wrong with you. This story is getting so juicy. So what had happened so far? He has FaceTimed her, but he said he's told her he was somewhere else in another city that clearly he wasn't. So now she just confronted him and said she heard a voice of someone being in his car, and he said, "No, it wasn't." She said, "Yes, it was." Then he hung up on her. Let's get back to the story.
Okay, so I left off in the last video saying that he hung up on me when I had asked him who he was with. And as soon as he hangs up the phone, my heart is just like beating out of my chest. So I take a few minutes to literally have a panic attack and cry and process that I think I'm right. Oh my gosh, he's having an affair. Is it my mom? Is it somebody else? I'm freaking out. So I FaceTime him again, and he answers, and I again am just asking him, what is going on? Why are you lying?
What's
I know you're
going
with somebody.
on?
I'm not stupid. And he accuses me of being crazy and not trusting him, and that he's given me no reason to not trust him, and is just gaslighting me. So then I say, show me the passenger seat. And he says,
Wow.
no. And he hangs up on me again. So then I cry and I freak out even more, collect myself, and I call him again on FaceTime. And I am like, what the is happening? Like,
Pull up
if you're
on
not
him.
hiding anything, why won't you just show me? If I'm crazy, then just show me and prove yourself correct. And so, mind you, my crying panic attack episode lasted a few minutes before I called him again. So this time when I'm saying all of this, he's like, okay, fine, I'll show you. Turns the camera to his passenger seat. Sure enough, it's empty. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you just expect me to believe that during that time you hung up on me, that she didn't just get out of your car and she's hiding outside right now? So he just continues to say that I'm crazy
Typical.
and says, I'll be home soon. I'll talk to you later, and hangs up on me again. So at this point, I'm like 99%
Dude
sure
got
that it's
balls.
my
I ain't
mom.
gonna
It
even
just
lie.
had
He
this
got
gut
balls.
feeling. I had just talked to my grandmother that morning about the situation. Like, I'm 99% sure. But I wanted to be 100% sure. So then I decided to call my little sister because she was still living at home with our parents at the time. Through my tears, I managed to get the words out that I'm trying to say, and I ask her if our mom is home. And
You're
she
not
goes,
wrong.
I don't know. I'm in bed. Like, it's late at night. What's going on? Are you okay? Are the babies okay? And I said, I really just need you to do me a favor and find out if mom is home. And she goes, why? What's going on? And I say, sister,
Just see it, mom, or
she
something.
notified me.
Yeah, just go see it, mom home.
And
That's
she
it.
goes, okay, I don't want to keep this from you. Your husband came by earlier tonight and picked mom up to take her door dashing with him, and they told me not to tell you. And that confirms that I was right,
The sister knew
that they
too.
were together. So I'm hysterical and I'm crying and I'm telling my sister, they're having an affair, sister, they're having an affair. And of course, she goes, what? No, they're not. They would never do that. Catherine, like, no, don't think that way. They love you. That's our mom. That's your husband. Like, no, no, no. It's just a
But why is it
misunderstanding.
a secret though?
Because, of course, you don't want to believe that that's actually really happening. But I knew. I knew that I was right. Because of my little sister, I finally had my 100% guarantee. I knew they were together. So this time, I called my mom. She didn't answer, so I called her again and again and again. And I called her 8 times. And when she
Eight
finally answered,
times.
she
8
goes,
times.
what, Catherine? And again, through my weeping, I just said to her, just tell me why.
She just won't answer.
Why what? And I said, you know what? I can hear my husband in the background say, put on speaker, put on speaker. So I hear him muffle with my phone, put on speaker. And then she goes, tell you why I'm with your husband. And then she goes on this rant. She had
Wow.
a really bad day today, and my husband had reached out to her earlier to see how she was doing, and after she told him, he went to go pick her up to get her out of the house to have some fresh air, and there's nothing wrong with that. I then addressed my husband because I knew I was on speakerphone, and I let him know that before he took her home, they both needed to get to our house so the 3 of us could have a chat. So eventually they got to the house, and when they walked
This
in,
is
they
juicy.
tried to come hug me. And I told them, do not fucking touch me. And I looked both of them dead in their eyes. And I said, are you two fucking each other? Without even so much as moving a muscle in his face, my husband looks at me and says, no. And my mother says, I would never cross that boundary. But of course, I knew the truth. I knew. Even without them admitting it, I knew. So I ended up telling my mom to get the hell out of my house. And I went to bed. I didn't sleep, but I went to bed. It was not until the next day that they finally decided to come clean and admit that they were, in fact, having an affair. You guys are going to be mad at me, but I'm going to
Wow.
have to make a part 4. My story is so long, you guys. Like, hours long. And I just can't fit all of that into TikTok. I can't do it. It has been a very overwhelming last few days with all of the attention I've been getting, and I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful for all of you guys for listening to my story and hearing me and validating me. But it's a lot.
All right, so this is getting good, y'all. It's past juicy. This is past juicy. They have admitted that they were having an affair. I can't wait. We gotta get to the next part right now. Let's go.
Okay, you guys, this is part 4 of how I ultimately caught my husband having an affair with my mother. So the next day, I had to get out of the house and I just had to talk to somebody, anybody.
Oh, we gotta
I
talk to somebody.
decided to reach out to my older sister, not the one that is adopted and not my baby sister, my older sister. I went to her house and she lives just down the street from me, and so I went to go fill her in on the previous night. During that conversation, she had revealed to me that she had witnessed some inappropriate behavior between my mother and my husband.
The whole family knows.
The entire family had spent Christmas at our parents' house. And at one point during the day, When my sister had walked into the kitchen, she walked in on my mother leaned over the counter, clothed, but with my husband's groin pressed up against her behind. But I was just barely hearing about it for the first time right then and there. Anyway, I cried with her.
No respects.
I told her I have to leave. I have to go talk to our dad now. Like, he needs to know what's going on. So I texted my dad and I told him that I needed to talk to him immediately, and he agreed to meet up with me. When we were finally together, I told him I don't know how to say this without just saying it, so that's all I can do. And I said, I believe that Mom and my husband are having an affair. And I expected him to be shocked, surprised, confused, angry, sad, something of the sort. But he wasn't. He said, you need to go talk to your husband because today he's going to tell you the truth. And I said, what does that mean? Do you know?
The dad already knew.
And again, he said, you need to go talk to your husband because today he's going to tell you the truth. So now I'm realizing that my dad already knows.
He already
Did
knows.
my mother, when she finally went home the previous night, talk to him about it? Did she talk to him about it today before I talked to him about it? Like, why is he beating around the bush and not having a fucking conversation with me about it? But I was not about to go confront my ex-husband alone without support. Because if what I thought was happening, I was going to be helped. So my father,
Right.
my older sister, my younger sister, and my grandmother met me at my house so that they could be with the babies while I confronted my husband. Luckily, I was smart enough to pull up my phone and hit record before our conversation began.
The old record button.
Full affair. He admitted to everything. In detail, he told me about how horrible of a wife and a mom that I was, and that he deserves better. He had no remorse. In fact, he seemed proud. And after he admitted to having an affair with my mom in my bed, he immediately began to talk about how we were going to split custody and what we were going to do with the house, and he revealed to me all the credit card debt that he had racked up that I had no idea about.
Wow, that's crazy.
He had it all planned out. Ooh, I did not think I'd start crying. I don't cry about this a lot anymore because I've had a lot of time to process it. But the last few days have been overwhelming.
What did your mom say about this? That's what I want to know. What did the mom say?
Mom. And not that going through this could ever be easy. Ever. But I think it'd be so different had we been estranged or didn't have a relationship.
Oh.
He's my best friend. So anyway, after I recorded that whole conversation, I realized, that this is my life, this is happening, and I've got two precious babies that I need to protect.
Facts.
Growing up in an environment that my husband and mother were going to provide. So I had texted my family that was downstairs watching the girls to get the girls and leave immediately. I don't care where you're at. Let me know where you're at, but you need to get the girls out of this house.
Right now.
He told me that if he couldn't stand me, he could leave, but that he was not going to leave his house, that this was his house. So I knew that I had to go because I wasn't going to argue with him. So I packed the 3 suitcases that I own with the absolute necessities that my daughters and I would need. Mind you, at this point, they were 11 months old. Eventually found out that they were at my grandma's house, who also lives just down the street. And then, like I said before, my mom moved in that same night too. So that is the story of how I caught my husband having the affair and my mom having the affair and how I found out. I promise I have been reading so many of your guys' comments and reading your questions, and I have been saving them and writing them down, and I plan to answer all your questions.
That's it right there. We're gonna end it right there, man. That is one crazy story, man. So many red flags. Just the total disrespect of her husband and her mother. Like, they fondling around in their home, they're riding together. But the wild part about that is everybody knew except her. The sister knew, the daddy knew, everybody already knew. Alright, so I want to hear what you guys got to say about this story, man. Leave a comment. Share this video, share this post. I want to talk about this. Leave a comment. I will comment back. It's your boy King Lucky Money, man. Best reaction videos on the internet, baby. Yeah.